Story of the Belgian Grand Prix for me should be about the ineptitude of the FIA, the fact that they're so risk averse that we've got a wet tyre and that they don't allow the best 20 drivers in the world to use it. They delayed and they delayed and they delayed. I'm waiting for my bus pass. I feel like I'm an OAP. Should I be getting my pension at this stage? So long did we have to wait as an F1 community, as fans of the sporting endeavour that it is the weird and wacky world that is the one that Fs, that I am aged. Time is a finite resource, and it took 2 hours to start this race. I understand that danger is a thing in motorsport, is now and always will be, always has been, but that was too much from the FIA. Start the race. Let's see who can keep it on track. We had the opportunity to see another Brazil 2024, but yet and still, as always, the FIA seized defeat from the jaws of victory. That should be the story. So too, you could point the finger at a god tier drive from Sir Lewis Hamilton. When he gets his eye in and has his Weetabix, nobody, not even me, can talk about Sir Lewis Hamilton as having lost it. 40 years old, being over the hill. F1 is a young man's game. All of that fades to black when Lewis Hamilton gets a sniff of it in a car that gives him the confidence to push. At one stage in the first stint, Charles Leclerc was getting gapped to the tune of a 10.42 by Sir Lewis Hamilton, and he was going through the pack. Of course, he's a Regenmeister, and that means that it brings into clear view, into focus, the extent to which he can leverage his internal gyroscope, its feel, its nulling and voiding for snap oversteer moments. And who better than Sir Lewis Hamilton to deal with that around Spa-Francorchamps? He was brilliant, reminiscent of 2018 Singapore. Lewis Hamilton at his best. Build him, therefore, a car Scuderia Ferrari, the red team with a yellow badge and black prancing course atop. The story of this Grand Prix should, of course, be Charles Leclerc fending off for a fire-breathing dragon in Maximilian Verstappen in a car that wasn't capable, with tyres that were falling off their degradation clip. Like, I should have to take 2 seats when I talk about Charles Leclerc, modern day Jean Alesi, for he was brilliant this race. Podium settings, bravo, standing ovation. That should be the story of this Grand Prix. Show 2, we should be talking about Oscar Piastri's metronomic performance. He was brilliant, as near as makes no difference, zero mistakes, and stole the lunch money of his teammates off the bloody line as we expected him to. This is Oscar Piastri's year, some say. Now 16 points to the good as far as the Drivers' Championship, and leading, heading for his first in only his 3rd season in F1 proper. Oh, the humanity. Put some respect on Oscar Jack Piastri's name. Those should be the stories of this Grand Prix. Round 13, the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps, but none of the aforementioned are. The story of this Grand Prix is Lando Norris yet and still seizing defeat from the jaws of victory. Let me contextualise this thus. Lando Norris is a brilliant driver. When he's had his Weetabix and played his way into the crease, he's absolutely ridiculously quick as anybody on the grid on his day. Don't believe me? See Zandvoort last year. See some of the qualifying laps that he's put in this. Yesterday, the qualifying lap was god tier, and he had to continuously improve and nail a sector 2 because Oscar Piastri had it on him the previous session. Monaco 2, Singapore last year, god tier. Zandvoort put in 20 seconds, notwithstanding the fact that he had a vehicular advantage. Of course, he's a brilliant driver, but the problem, the multitudinous foibles as far as Lando Norris, has always been one of execution. I tweeted out yesterday, if you think Lando Norris is going to get through Le Mans before Oscar Piastri and all the other drivers on the grid consolidate for a pole position, then I have oceanfront property for sale for you in Arizona. No bloody chance. Let me tell you how I knew that. If past this prologue, and if in F1 history doesn't repeat, but sometimes it does rhyme, Lando Norris last year had 10 pole position starts. 7 of those times, 70% of those times, he failed to consolidate for P1. Lest we forget, this is the rarefied air. If you look back at Michael Schumacher, he made an industry, a career out of doing this. He'd put it on pole and nobody would see which way he went. Lights the flag victory as near as makes no difference every single time. Seb Vettel too. He did that, made an industry out of doing it. If he dropped it on pole, as he did so frequently, it was a lights to flag victory. You may as well pack your bags, come back in 2 hours, and Sebastian Vettel would have himself 25 points. It was as near as makes no difference, guaranteed. Flip reverse that narrative with Lando Norris. If he puts it on pole, you can guarantee that he's going to get his lunch money stolen over the course at some point of the first lap. 70% of the time, for the avoidance of doubt, to reiterate the point, he put it on pole and lost pole position in 2024. That's something that he needed to fix for, will need to fix for, if he harbours aspirations of winning himself championships over the course of lap 1, including pole positions in 24. 28 positions is how many positions that Lando Norris lost. 28. And so it was again this race that he failed to consolidate for a P1, failing to get the traction that he needed out of Leclerc and setting himself up as a sitting duck to one OJP Piastri. Oscar Jack Piastri. Lando Norris, therefore, the conclusion is he's not robust enough off of the start. There was the error, and that wasn't the only error. Of course, there was the pit stop from which he suffered. It was a slow pit stop, front left, if I recall it. But in the second stint, there were other mistakes. It looked and felt a lot like Singapore 2024, where, on which occasion, Lando Norris was 20 seconds down the road, but kept on losing attention, making mistakes of the unforced variety. We saw it again today when he had to be dialed in. Oscar Piastri wasn't going to make those type of mistakes, so he needed to be dialed in on those hard tyres to give himself a chance towards the dying embers of the race, the last 10 laps, of overcoming his teammate Oscar Jack Piastri, and he didn't do it. Most notably, big error through P1. What are you doing, Lando Norris? You are a brilliant racing driver, sir, but execution is the altar at which your driver's championship campaign will fall flat on its face, lest we change something between now and the end of the season. And empathy is hard to extend to Lando Norris, notwithstanding all of the aforementioned, really lovely guy, darling of the British media, handsome, marketeer's dream. But empathy is really, really difficult because of a couple different things. Stubbornness, change for these things, continuously improve, humble yourself, respond to Nico Rosberg's messages sorely on Instagram. He's in your DMs. Why? Because nobody understands how to overcome a natural talent deficit like one Nico Rosberg. Check his stats, 2016, and then it makes it even more difficult when you realise Lando Norris's comments in the early 20s when referring, asked to characterise Sir Lewis Hamilton's accolades, asked on his views of his fellow Britain's accomplishments. Lando Norris said then, "I'm just happy for him, nothing more. It doesn't mean anything to me really. Lewis Hamilton is in a car which should win every race." Basically, fast forward to 2025. How is that circumstance different from yours, Lando Norris? He continues. He has to beat only one or two drivers. That's it. Fair play to him. He's still doing the job he has to do. Those comments have come back to haunt Lando Norris, for he's now in the most dominant machine, and he only has one chap to beat. He has a name. His name is Oscar Jack Piastri, but he can't do it at the altar of mistakes of the unforced variety. Lando Norris needs to fix up, have a very deep, long look, a long conversation with himself in the accountability mirror, lest he wish for 2025 to be remembered as the time when he sees the second time in 2 years when Lando seized somehow defeat from the maws, no jaws of victory. Lando Norris, your move, sir.